There's something almost haunting about the way an avoidant bonds. On the surface, they seem like free spirits, untethered, independent, uninterested in clinging or needing. But if you've ever been close to one, if you ever felt the push and pull of their energy, you know the truth runs much deeper. You know the paradox. They resist closeness with almost everyone. Yet when they finally do create a true bond, it can last a lifetime. That contradiction is maddening if you've been on the outside of it. You might wonder, why couldn't it be me? Why did I feel so much intensity, so much possibility, only to watch them retreat into silence? Why is it that with some people they maintain this invisible, unshakable thread, while with others they vanish like smoke? It's not random. It's not luck. And it's not because you weren't enough. Avoidants form lifelong bonds only with a certain type of partner, and once you understand who that is, the fog lifts. You stop personalizing their distance. You stop chasing what was never built to last. And most importantly, you begin to see what actually makes intimacy endure. Think about the moments you felt with them, that flash of tenderness, that softness in their eyes right before they pulled away. You thought it was proof. You thought it meant you had finally broken through their walls. But here's the painful truth. Connection alone doesn't guarantee a bond with them. Chemistry isn't enough. Love isn't even enough. Because for the avoidant, the type of bond that lasts isn't about intensity, it's about safety. And safety for them doesn't look like what you've been conditioned to give. It doesn't come from proving your devotion, from holding on tighter, from waiting for the day they'll wake up and choose you. No, safety for an avoidant comes when they sense they cannot lose themselves in you. When they feel their autonomy is untouched. When they realize that your strength does not collapse under the weight of their distance. This is the key. This is the door that unlocks who they attach to for life. Not the one who loves them the hardest, but the one who can love without being consumed. The first shift you need to see is this. Avoidants only form lifelong bonds with partners who do not chase them into their shadows. And I know how tempting it is to run after them. Their withdrawal feels like abandonment, their silence feels like rejection, and your nervous system screams at you to bridge the gap. You text first, you over-explain, you soften your boundaries, you try to prove you're safe, all while slowly erasing yourself. But here's the paradox. Every time you lean in to fix the distance, they feel less safe with you because in their internal wiring, closeness equals engulfment. To them, pursuit feels like pressure, even if it comes from love. It activates their deepest fear that being loved will cost them their freedom. So they pull back harder, and you, misinterpreting that as a sign you've lost them, chase harder still. It becomes a cycle that burns out the possibility of any enduring bond. Now imagine a different scene. Imagine the avoidant pulls back, retreats into their private world, expecting the usual chase. But instead of panicking, instead of collapsing into self-blame, you breathe. You don't chase. You don't collapse. You stay centered in yourself. You hold steady. Do you see what that does? For the first time, the avoidant experiences space without pressure. They discover that your love doesn't come with the hidden demand to merge. And something inside them softens because now their biggest fear isn't being confirmed. It's being disarmed. This is where bonds begin for them. Not in the fiery rush of attraction, not in late-night confessions, not even in passion-filled reunions after conflict. Their lifelong bonds are born in the quiet recognition that they are safe with someone who doesn't erase themselves to keep them, safe with someone who doesn't chase when they retreat, who doesn't crumble when they withdraw, who can love them without clinging to them. Let me tell you what this looks like in real time. An avoidant pulls away after a deep weekend together. They stop texting as much. Their tone shifts colder. Your old instinct says, "What did I do wrong? How do I fix this?" But instead, you give them what they least expect. You don't punish. You don't plead. You don't fill the silence with desperate words. You continue your life. You invest in your world. And when they come back, because avoidants always circle back when there's space, they're met with a calm presence, not a storm of need. That moment imprints them. It tells their nervous system, this person is different. This person won't consume me. This person can stand on their own. And it's that realization, not chemistry, not passion, that marks the beginning of a lifelong bond for an avoidant. Because the truth is, they don't stay attached to the person who proves love through sacrifice. They stay attached to the person who shows love without surrendering their center. That's who they trust. That's who they keep tethered to, even through distance, even through silence, even across years. And that shift leads us into something even deeper, why their lifelong partner isn't necessarily the most emotionally available person, but the one who understands the dance of closeness and distance in a way that no longer threatens them. The second shift is seeing that avoidants only form enduring bonds with the partner who understands the rhythm of closeness and distance and doesn't panic when it plays out. Because here's the truth, with an avoidant, distance is not the opposite of love. It's part of how they love. To them, needing space doesn't mean they've stopped caring. It means they're trying to preserve themselves inside the connection. But most people misread this. When the avoidant pulls back, the anxious or deeply invested partner assumes something is wrong. Did I say too much? Did I cross a line? Did I scare them off? And in that panic, they try to restitch the closeness, not realizing that the avoidant isn't leaving forever, they're breathing. And if you don't understand that, you'll chase them straight out of the bond. The partner who becomes their lifelong anchor is the one who doesn't make distance a threat. They understand that intimacy with an avoidant comes in waves. There will be moments of deep connection, softness, passion, even surprising vulnerability, and then there will be moments of withdrawal. The mistake is thinking the withdrawal cancels the connection. But the one who lasts doesn't confuse the ebb with the end. They know that if they hold steady, the tide always returns. Let's make this real. Picture a couple, the avoidant. After a beautiful evening together, suddenly grows quieter the next morning. They don't text right away. Their energy shifts. For many partners, that silence would spark spirals of fear. They're losing interest, they're shutting down, I'm being abandoned. And that fear drives reaction, calls, texts, emotional demands. But the partner who builds a lifelong bond notices the silence and instead thinks, this is the rhythm, let them have it. They lean into their own life. They don't interpret distance as rejection. They interpret it as regulation. And this changes everything. Because now the avoidant doesn't feel like love equals suffocation. Instead, they start to associate love with freedom. They start to experience closeness as something that doesn't rob them of air, but allows them to exhale. And once they make that association, the bond is cemented in a way that's incredibly difficult for them to break. Here's the paradox. The more you chase their closeness, the shorter it lasts. But the more you honor their distance, the deeper their attachment grows. Not because they want less of you, but because they need to know that being loved by you won't erase who they are. So when an avoidant chooses a lifelong partner, it isn't the one who convinces them never to pull away. That's impossible. It's the one who turns their distance into safety instead of conflict. The one who doesn't collapse when the wave recedes because they know it will return. And once you see this rhythm clearly, you start to recognize that it isn't about them choosing freedom over love. It's about them needing freedom inside love, which means the bond they keep for life is always with the partner who knows how to hold both. If this is landing for you, subscribe. We're just getting started. Because now we need to go deeper into why avoidants actually bond for life, not with the partner who loves them the most, but with the partner who refuses to lose themselves in the relationship. The third shift is realizing that avoidants don't form lifelong bonds with the partner who gives the most, sacrifices the most, or bends the most to keep the relationship alive. They bond with the one who refuses to lose themselves inside the connection. And this can feel counterintuitive, especially if you've been conditioned to believe that love means compromise at all costs, or that proving your devotion will eventually earn you their security. But here's what most people don't see. When you sacrifice yourself to keep an avoidant close, you're not winning their heart, you're confirming their fear. You're telling their nervous system, yes, love means I disappear into you. Yes, love means my identity shrinks, so yours can breathe. And while they may take comfort in the control of that dynamic for a while, it never creates respect. And without respect, there can be no enduring bond. Now imagine the opposite. Imagine being with an avoidant and letting them see that your center is not negotiable. You can love them deeply, but you will not abandon yourself. You can desire closeness, but you will not collapse when it doesn't come in the way you hoped. That steadiness, rooted in your self-possession, is what shifts their entire framework of love. For the first time they meet someone who can hold their own weight, someone they don't have to fear will dissolve in the face of their distance. And that's the kind of partner they tether to for life. Think about the moments when you've been tempted to give everything just to soothe the gap. The long late-night texts explaining your worth, the silent tolerance of their withdrawal, while inside you're crumbling. The way you tell yourself, if I just hold on a little longer, if I just show them enough love, they'll finally feel safe with me. But what happens? They don't feel safe. They feel crowded. Because what they need is not your surrender, it's your solidity. The partners who remain etched into their lives are the ones who live with this truth. I want you, but I don't need to disappear to keep you. And it's not spoken, it's lived. It's in the way you carry yourself when they go quiet. It's in the boundaries you maintain when they test how far they can push. It's in the quiet power of knowing that your value doesn't hinge on whether they can show up today or not. And here's where the paradox deepens. When you stop abandoning yourself, the avoidant begins to trust you more, not less. They begin to feel that maybe, just maybe, they can step closer without losing themselves because you haven't lost yourself. Your self-possession becomes a mirror that shows them intimacy doesn't have to equal annihilation. So the lifelong bond is never forged through sacrifice. It's forged through sovereignty, through the subtle but unshakable message, I can hold my life and love you at the same time. That's the partner they never forget. That's the bond they guard, even through their instinct to withdraw. And this brings us to an even deeper truth. Why avoidants secretly bond for life with the partner who introduces accountability without punishment, a partner who becomes their quiet compass, not their jailer. The fourth shift is recognizing that avoidants form lifelong bonds with the partner who brings accountability without punishment. This is subtle but powerful because most people, when hurt by an avoidance distance or withdrawal, swing to extremes. They either tolerate everything in silence, losing their boundaries in the process, or they explode with anger, trying to shame or guilt the avoidant back into closeness. Neither approach builds a lasting bond. Avoidants have a deep, almost childlike fear of being punished for their needs. When you react with rage, accusations, or ultimatums, you're confirming their fear. If I let someone close, I'll be controlled. I'll be made wrong just for being who I am. And when you swing the other way, tolerating everything without consequence, you confirm another fear. If I let someone close, they'll disappear into me. I'll never get to breathe. Both dynamics kill the possibility of real attachment. But accountability without punishment is different. It's when you can hold them to a standard of respect and reciprocity without making them the villain. It's when you can say, I care about you, but I won't stay in a dynamic that erases me, and then live by that truth. It's when your boundaries are clear but not cruel, firm but not fueled by revenge. And that's the paradox. When you stop needing to punish them, your boundaries land harder. They feel the truth of your strength without the sting of shame. Let me give you an example. The avoidant disappears for a week after a deep stretch of closeness. Your old instinct might be to either wait silently, resenting them in secret, or blow up the moment they resurface. But the partner who bonds for life takes a different route. They acknowledge what happened, they express what they need, and they set the boundary without venom. It might sound like, when you go silent, it doesn't work for me. I need communication, even if it's short. If that can't happen, this won't work. And then here's the key: they follow through. They don't threaten, they don't chase. They simply live their standard. That kind of clarity does something remarkable to an avoidant. It cuts through their defenses without triggering their shame. For once, they feel both the weight of responsibility and the possibility of safety. They realize this person won't erase me, but they also won't let me erase them. And in that balance, a lifelong bond is born. Because avoidants don't actually want partners who enable their patterns forever. Deep down, they crave someone who draws out the parts of them that are capable of real intimacy without crushing them under guilt or punishment. They crave someone who can hold the line without drawing blood. That's the rarest kind of strength, and it's the kind they never forget. So when you see an avoidant hold on to a partner for life, notice this: it's not the partner who let them get away with everything. It's not the one who broke themselves to keep the peace. It's the one who looked them in the eye and said, I love you, but I won't vanish for you. I won't punish you, but I will not disappear. That's the tether that doesn't break. Send this to someone who's been stuck in this dynamic for far too long. Because now we need to move into an even deeper shift. Why avoidants create lifelong bonds with the partner who evokes respect through mystery, not manipulation, but the kind of grounded presence that keeps them endlessly drawn in. The fifth shift is understanding that avoidants only stay bonded for life with the partner who evokes respect through mystery. Not the kind of mystery that comes from manipulation, games, or withholding, but the kind that comes from being grounded in your own life, your own purpose, your own essence. Because nothing makes an avoidant lose respect faster than predictability born from desperation. Here's the paradox. Avoidants claim to want peace, stability, and someone who won't threaten their freedom. Yet the partner they stay bonded to forever is never the one who gives them absolute certainty. Why? Because certainty without respect feels like control to them. It feels like the walls are closing in. What keeps them tethered is knowing that the person beside them is never fully owned, that there's always a depth, a vitality, and energy they can't quite pin down. This doesn't mean being elusive or manipulative. It means being fully alive outside of them, having your own friendships, your own passions, your own joy that doesn't evaporate when they pull back. It means they can't consume all of you because you were never offering yourself as an empty plate. You were already full, and they're simply invited to the table. That kind of mystery commands respect. Picture it like this. An avoidant retreats, expecting you to shrink in their absence, but instead you expand. They return to find you radiant, engaged, alive in your own world. You're not punishing them with absence. You're embodying presence in your own life. That dynamic disarms them in a way they can't forget. They may not always articulate it, but deep down they know, this person doesn't orbit around me. They are a universe unto themselves. And that's the kind of energy they bond to for life. Have you ever noticed how avoidants often circle back, even years later, to the one who carried this essence? It's not because that person was the most forgiving or the most available. It's because that person maintained a mystery rooted in selfhood. They never became fully possessed, and that unclaimed space keeps the bond alive. This is where many people misunderstand what it takes to keep an avoidant's respect. They think it's about holding back, acting distant, or pretending not to care. But real mystery isn't about pretending. It's about being too rooted in your own vitality to ever become predictable in your desperation. It's about letting your independence and your aliveness do the talking. And here's what happens when you embody that. The avoidant begins to respect you not just as a lover, but as an equal. They see that they can't diminish you, they can't collapse you, and they can't fully consume you. And respect for them is the bridge to love. Without respect, attraction fades. With respect, the bond endures even through silence, even through separation. So the lifelong partner is never the one who gave them everything. It's the one they could never quite fully claim because that person was already whole. That is the mystery that keeps them tethered long after passion cools, long after distance stretches between you. And this takes us into the final shift. Why avoidants only create lifelong bonds with the partner who mirrors back to them the possibility of growth. Someone who expands their capacity to love without demanding they change overnight. The sixth shift is understanding that avoidants only create lifelong bonds with the partner who quietly expands them, who reflects back not just who they are, but who they could become. And the key here is this: expansion is not demanded, it's inspired. Avoidants resist change when it feels forced. If you push them to open up, to communicate more, to love the way you need to be loved, they hear control, they feel pressure, and they shut down. But when they encounter a partner who embodies growth naturally, someone who models vulnerability without forcing it, who communicates clearly without dragging them into it, who loves deeply without trying to fix them, that becomes irresistible. It's a mirror they can't look away from. Think about it. The avoidant often carries shame about their limitations. They know they withdraw, they know they avoid conflict, they know they struggle with closeness. Deep down, they wish they could stay, they wish they could open more fully. But the fear of losing themselves wins out. What bonds them for life is not the partner who blames them into change, but the one who holds space for their growth while refusing to shrink. Picture this. The avoidant has just gone silent after an emotional conversation. They expect punishment, they expect guilt, they expect you to crack under the weight of their absence. Instead, when they return, they find you calm, clear, but not closed. You don't erase the truth of what you need. You voice it, you don't chase, you don't collapse, but you also don't turn cold. That steadiness creates a new experience for them. It says love can be safe and love can also grow. That's the moment they realize this bond isn't like the others. The lifelong partner becomes the one who holds both acceptance of where they are and inspiration toward what's possible. It's not easy. It requires patience, boundaries, and the ability to separate their behavior from your worth. But it's that balance that imprints them. Because for the avoidant, growth only happens in the soil of safety. And when they feel both safe and challenged, inspired but not coerced, that bond becomes unshakable. You'll notice this in the stories avoidants tell. They might drift, they might pull away, but years later, the partner they still remember is the one who showed them a bigger love without trying to control them into it. The one who stood tall, not waiting forever, but holding a mirror of what intimacy could look like if they were brave enough to step in. So here's the truth. Avoidants don't bond for life with the partner who tolerates their patterns indefinitely. They don't bond with the one who tries to break their walls with force. They bond with the one who made them feel both safe and stretched. Safe enough to stay, stretched enough to grow. That's the rarest balance. And once they taste it, they never forget it. And now we come full circle because when you put all of this together, you begin to see the exact blueprint of who avoidants actually attach to for life. And it may not be what you expected. When you put it all together, the truth becomes undeniable. Avoidants don't form lifelong bonds through passion alone, or through the partner who tried hardest, or the one who gave until there was nothing left. They bond for life with the one who doesn't chase their shadows, the one who understands the rhythm of closeness and distance, the one who refuses to abandon themselves, the one who sets boundaries without punishment, the one who carries mystery through self-possession, and the one who quietly inspires their growth. It's not about being perfect. It's not about never feeling the ache when they pull away. It's about standing in a power that says, I love you, but I am whole without you. I welcome you, but I will not vanish to keep you. I see your patterns, but I don't need to lose myself in them. That's the energy they cannot shake. That's the tether that endures across time, distance, even silence. And here's the paradox that should set you free. The very thing you thought disqualified you from being loved by an avoidant, the fact that you are strong, sovereign, unwilling to disappear, that is the very thing that makes you unforgettable to them, not because you broke yourself open to meet their fear, but because you refuse to break at all. So ask yourself, what would shift in your life if you stopped trying to earn the unearnable? What would change if you stopped chasing bonds that were never built to last and instead became the kind of person who commands respect, safety, and love simply by being unshakably yourself? Because that's the real power here. The point isn't to win over an avoidant. It's to step so fully into your own center that if they do bond with you for life, it's not because you bent into their fear, but because you stood in your truth. And maybe the bigger question is this: what if the lifelong bond you're meant to cultivate isn't first with them, but with yourself? What if the safety you've been trying to prove to someone else is the very safety your own soul has been waiting for you to embody? That's where the power lies. That's where freedom begins. And that's where love, the kind that lasts, finally feels possible. If this resonated with you, subscribe. Not because you need more answers, but because you've already begun the journey of seeing differently. And that journey deserves to keep unfolding.